Minute by Minute podcast. We're doing 997 sequel Jurassic Park, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're here to discuss minute 57 of The Lost World. But before we get there, we've pretty much today, just to date the podcast a little bit more, the second trailer for Jurassic World Evolution dropped.
That's right.
And now, instead of having sort of that CGI video we had for Evolution the first time, this appears to be in-game animation. I think the animals look great.
I agree, yeah. They look fantastic, actually. I mean, this has been a long time from Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and those kind of boxy, glitchy graphics that we had that came with it. So gameplay or the CG models for the game have vastly improved. They look almost realistic.
Now it's sort of there was pretty much no. I don't recall there was any text on the screen anywhere. It was just pretty much a 2-minute trailer of what I like to call Walking with Dinosaurs, Jurassic Park style. Like we got there was a couple of for me, hard to see images of sort of Jurassic World, the Innovation Centre, and that. They were sort of shaded a bit where it was more the surroundings and the dinosaurs walking that were featured. A couple of great ones too, if the raptors running through an open paddock, and or making it look like they were going after an ankylosaur as well.
No, I thought it was really cool that they actually did that though with the buildings, and just with the paddocks that we got, the paddock shots that we got in general were really almost atmospheric in a way, you know?
Well, especially you had those two shots where it was like sunrise late afternoon.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if it just makes me wonder how much of this is actual gameplay or just like cutscenes or in-game animation.
Yeah, possibly. Like I know some video games they'll show like glimpses of the not dinosaurs, but the animals or whatever the main target is in like these cutscenes prior to the actual gameplay that you go into. So like for example, it reminded me a lot of the Cabela's game, Greatest Hunts, where it shows you just quick glimpses at the animals and their environments that you're supposed to be hunting.
Yep. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that from sort of older hunting games where you get like a little 5-second, 10-second clip of a deer walking between some trees, and then it sort of cuts back to you, and you got to try and sneak up on it and that. But in saying that too, like it all seemed to be the animals were free moving. It didn't seem like there was any controllability to them, which sort of makes you wonder if it was a cutscene or if the animals in the game are going to be free flying, and you can't really say, well, I'm going to be this T-Rex and go and hunt something, or similar to sort of maybe the Lost World PlayStation 2 game or PlayStation 1 game.
No, I don't think it's going to be where you control dinosaurs. I think this is going to be more like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, where you build the park and then you have to stop it from going to hell. I don't think this is going to be like say Saurian, the game Saurian, where you're basically playing as a dinosaur.
Yeah, yep. And so as we alluded to before, like Jurassic games up until now have sort of been one way or the other, but I think one of the main issues with them across the board is maybe the animal designs and the animal looks, just being very boxy, and sometimes very erratic, like Trespasser, or even with Genesis, like they'll small, pixelate a little bit animals. You could sort of go down to the Explorer and on ground level and look at them, but I don't recall, were the Genesis dinosaurs actually modelled off Jurassic dinosaurs, or were they just sort of...
They were modeled pretty well off the Jurassic Park 3 ILM renders, I think.
Okay.
But the way that the model itself was, it was just really pixelated in a way that was kind of like Trespasser as well, where you had these really detailed skins they could make, but they're stretched over like a really rudimentary shell.
Yep.
I guess would be the name for it.
Yep.
I'm not really a gamer.
Yep. Yeah, and so we've still got plenty of time. Like this is just a straight up first little snippet from in game. It looked fantastic. As I said, seeing the raptors blue, the triceratops sort of sleeping against a fence, a couple of ankylosaurs, and the sauropods sort of again wandering through the open fields.
Yeah.
And the Parasaurolophus, a little bit darker than the Lost World version, but it seemed to have that same sort of yellows and creams running through the colour.
It seemed to have pretty much the same basic coloration, just a tad darker.
Darker on top, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting too that it was pretty much just all dinosaur footage, minus the helicopter that annoyingly kept on flying across the screen. And and the ranger station was really the only building we got to see in the clear. Maybe because it's a new asset for the game and not actually something we've seen.
I think that's what it was. Is that it was pretty much a brand new asset that the game designers built specifically for that game, and it's not something that they're going to just throw a skin over like they would say the innovation center.
And one thing I was definitely happy to see was it was a different helicopter and not the Maserati corporate engine helicopter.
Oh, was it? I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, it was almost like a gunship sort of helicopter.
Oh, cool.
Minus the wings on the rocket pods on the side of it, but from memory, I'm pretty sure it was the same helicopter, more detailed than what the Genesis one was, but that might be just me not really looking too hard at the two helicopters, but...
No, it definitely reminded me of that one as well. But in Jurassic World colors, of course.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, again, there's not really a lot, just 2 minutes of really dinosaurs moving through the environments. I felt the raptors' movement was really fluid and nice. It wasn't really... I liked it anyway, yeah.
It seemed like this was more of a proof of concept trailer than anything else.
Yeah, well, that's, as I said before, that dinosaurs always being the issue. It's here, this is the dinosaurs we're going to have in it. You'll see the buildings and the rest of the gameplay later, but we've cracked it. We've got the dinosaurs looking as they should. Like we know they're not going to be movie accurate. Like the CG is not going to be as good as on screen because they haven't got the budget for that. But I reckon they've got pretty close. Especially that T-Rex as it bellows again, just pumping that sound out.
Yeah, it really is. It was a really great shot, wasn't it?
Yep. I think I love Tim Almeida was saying that it's not Nublar, it's one of the other islands.
Yeah, Matsunceros.
Yeah.
Apparently, all 5 islands in the La Cinco Mortes chain will be allowed along with Nublar, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to sort of ask. Is that just going to be like the shape of the island, or is there actually going to be maybe locations or something from the films in there? But it's sort of hard to put your finger on what that actually means.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself.
Yeah, because it'd be no different to say making a novel, not accurate, but a sort of novel style shape of sauna in Genesis. Which I'm sure mods have done a lot of.
You haven't been attacked?
Oh no, that's my lucky pack. That's how it always looks.
Alright, anything else on the trailer you want to bring up before we get into the minute?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Alright. As we entered minute 56 of The Lost World, Sarah had fallen to the rear window of the trailer. Raindrops drummed down on the inside of the window, and cracks began to form under her hands and knees. As we enter minute 57, Sarah gets to her hands and knees and tries to spread her weight out as wide as she can. At 56 minutes and 13 seconds, Nick yells out, "Don't move." He looks across at Ian. Ian's looking down at Sarah's position. He says, "I'm coming down for you. Stay there. And don't move. Here I come. Stay still." At 56 minutes and 25 seconds, Sarah slowly reaches her right hand out to grab the corner of the window, putting all her weight on her left hand, and the glass begins to spiderweb and crack more frequently. At 56 minutes and 30 seconds, as Ian climbs down past the satellite phone, he yells up to Nick to get it. Nick starts climbing down the opposite side of the trailer, making his way towards the dangling satellite phone. At 56 minutes and 42 seconds, Nick arrives just above the phone and tries to reach out to grab it, the phone's strap slowly sliding off a light fixture. At 56 minutes and 50 seconds, Sarah's reaching across to the side of the window, and she's so close. At 56 minutes 58 seconds, we cut back to Nick, now close to the light, desperately trying to grab the strap, as it's only an inch or two away from falling off. And as we end the minute, Ian arrives by Sarah's side. And this ends minute 57 of The Lost World. We open straight back up from minute 56 where the glass is cracking, and we get the view down from up above as we see the cracks starting to form around, and Sarah's like, oh God, please, God no. And it's interesting too, like here looking down on her on the glass, there's a couple of sort of plates and cups, and just a couple of things where in the previous minute we've seen the fridge full of sort of look like plastic containers that fell out. When the trailer rolled over, there was a lot of debris getting thrown around, and now that it's over the cliff and on its end, nothing's gone down to the window. But
looks like there might be like a little pocketbook or something similar.
Yeah.
Little field guide book.
Yep.
Right next to her lucky pack.
And even previously when she was doing the X-ray of the baby's leg, there was sort of that computer monitor inside a hard Pelican case that she'd sat on the desk beside the table. It hadn't fallen down. That table's nowhere to be seen. So I understand in a way, because if they got that glass covered, you're not going to be able to see the effect that they're going for here in all its glory. But realistically, yeah, when that thing went over, the table alone should have been enough to go through the glass.
Yeah, really. I can't remember what exactly they did with the table once they moved the T-Rex. Because I thought they kind of just stowed it back away where they had it underneath the counter there, and so it would have just rolled over onto the side next to the they had like graded columns along the corners.
Yeah, well, I remember they picked the baby up and they walked around the table to take it to the door, and then it's sort of once they've delivered the baby outside, they sort of all just sit down in the doorway or around the doorway there, and I'd have to re-look and see if the table's still sitting behind there, but they don't get a lot of time after it before Ian sees the attack coming.
Yeah, true.
I suppose while we're just on that too, it was interesting too with the shooting script. It actually says that Eddie sort of talks over the radio that, oh God, I'm sorry, and they're like, what the hell does he mean? And Ian actually opens the door and looks out and sees the T-Rex charging, and sort of closes the door and goes back inside and said, hang on, this is going to be bad, which makes sense. And it's just sort of something was cut there again for time or what have you, and just you got to try and draw the line that, okay, you've seen something out the window, seen it charging from out the window, and that's what actually happened there. But even with that table too, if it sort of stowed against the wall, you'd think it maybe had like the locking brakes on the wheels that would stop it from moving, but it wouldn't really stop it if the trailer rolled. But we don't see it fall when the trailer goes over. So again, just and having a large steel table like that in there while they're doing the stunt too would be pretty dangerous for the stunt guys in there. So
definitely,
I can see why it was removed. But Nick yells out, "Don't move!" And Ian, I'm coming down to get you. Stay still. And we cut to the terror and a close up on Sarah's face as she's looking through the glass. And pretty much the only thing she can focus on through the glass is that crashing surf below.
Now, something I never got that Sarah does here is that when she hits the glass, she automatically kneels and puts like all of her weight into her palms, which is if you've ever been on thin ice,
Yeah.
You know that like you want to put all your weight as far out as possible. You know.
Yeah.
You don't want to column up your arms and put all your weight on your palms like that.
And that's sort of one thing we get to in a minute when Ian gets down beside her and says, "Give me your hand." Well, that's just going to put a lot of weight on that other hand that's on the surface because you're
Yeah, exactly, which
you're
would make it worse.
yeah, yep. Um, but Ian starts climbing down the side of the trailer. He's still on the door side, going down over that counter where Kelly made breakfast earlier. And it looks across at the radio terminal across from him and sees a satellite phone dangling there and tells Nick's satellite phone, "Get it."
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of another interesting thing too from the pre-San Diego script where before, I think it was before as the trailer rolled and before it started to get pushed, before Ian went to the window to look out the window after the trailer had rolled, he actually seen Sarah's pack and had grabbed that phone out of her pack. And it was made note that the screen was still glowing green. So then, once the trailer went over, he sees the screen glowing green because he'd obviously let go of it, and it was sitting against a table leg in the dangling trailer. That big, bulky satellite phone suitcase thing that Eddie had isn't really seen again in the script after Ian tries to call out on the front of the M-Class. So it's not it doesn't fall and go through the glass here. I think it's some debris that Nick actually accidentally kicks off the table, but it's just interesting here. We've got this satellite phone, sort of the handpiece hanging with the green light on it, as just a reference back to that earlier script, I'd imagine. But that would have just tied up. It would have said, "Yep, okay." Ian got Sarah's phone out of a bag. It had been fumbled a couple of times. Nick had tried to get it in the trailer, but had definitely gone over the cliff when the trailers fell. Whereas here, we know it's in the bag. We never see it again. So, and as we said when we were talking about that minute when he comes across a pack, a simple trying to turn it on and flat battery comment would have been perfectly fine. But that happened anyway. So. And it's also interesting here too, the whole scene with the T-Rexes at the trailers, it's been quiet. It's been the sound of the animals, the sound of the actors acting, well, not the sound of the actors acting, the actors giving their lines, and the noise of the trailer sort of protesting against being overturned. But now we sort of get that Jurassic sort of violin-y suspense music start to come in, and it's probably some of the more Jurassic Park sounding music in the film, as Nick tries to reach down and grab this satellite phone that's dangling on a light. And of course, because he's on the radio equipment side, this is one of the lights that was on a arm above the table or the bench where the computer monitors were. But it's one of those things. It's just been put there for this scene again. Before, when the trailer rolled, and even when the trailer went over the cliff, the force of it hitting the cliff would have it wouldn't have sat on the light like this with a strap. It would have kept on going. But it just adds that little bit more suspense. Not only do we have the glass cracking out with Sarah laying on it, we've also got this object that's just outside of Nick's reach, and he can't quite reach down to grab it. But then we cut back down to Sarah, sort of reaching and sliding one hand across to try and reach the side of the window. And again, then we're back to Nick again, where he's trying really hard and only a couple inches away from the light, and just really sort of grunting, trying to reach. Then we cut back down to beside Sarah, and Ian sort of arrives by her side. And that's where the minute ends. But it's funny. This last minute, Ian's had the time to climb all the way down the bottom of the trailer, but Nick can't climb down 4 more inches to grab. Because he's got the two swivel chairs are bolted to the ground there in front of the radio equipment, so he should be able to go down that little bit more. But that's the end of the minute. Anything else you want to bring up, Dave, before we go on with minute 58?
No, I think we're good.
Rightio.
Alright guys, let's get the hell out of here.
Contact details are on the website, thelostworldminute.com. You can email feedback to thelostworldminute@gmail.com, Facebook, The Lost World Minute, Twitter @TheLostWorldMinute, and Instagram, The Lost World Minute.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, very easy to remember. Right. David, thank you for joining me for this record.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back. I've been Brad.
I'm Dave.
And we'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life